Good evening, everybody. Good to see you all here, and we'll have some more coming in as they complete their tasks. And here comes one right now. So, tonight's message is about two-house division and restoration, and it's like I mentioned the other night, it's a teaching it was one of my original teachings, some 20 years ago. And I sort of took it out of mothballs and in this whole Sukkot time, and to try to bring forth the purpose, again, as I talked the other night about why Yeshua came. He had a mission. That mission was to look for the lost sheep of the house of Israel. He had a message. It was about the kingdom of heaven is at hand. All right? So, let me open up with a word of prayer. Father, we praise and glory, thank you again for this season, for this time, for what it means. And we just give you praise that you have placed us in here at this time to fellowship and to just grow in your word. So we thank you and praise you in Yeshua's name. Amen. All right, let's start off in Genesis 38. I've got to set a pattern here for you all. I've got to reveal something to you. So Genesis 38. So it looks like Valerie's there already. I will have you read verse 1, please.
And at that time it came to be that Yehuda left his brothers and turned aside to a man, an Adulamite, whose name was Hira.
All right. Why did I pick this scripture? Well, if you've heard me talk about this before, Genesis is 50 chapters long. Half of it is leading up to a particular family, and the last half of it is dealing with this family of the sons and family of Jacob, whose name was changed to Israel. And right here in the middle of when Joseph is taken into captivity, taken away to Egypt, we have this, what we call an interlude. When I came across this years ago, I go, what's this doing here? Why bring it in at this time? Well, as Valerie just read, Judah departed from his family and attached himself to a foreigner, an Adulamite man. Right here, to me, it starts a process of the division of Judah and the rest of the family. Now, Judah didn't, leave his family completely. He just went off and did his own thing. Meaning he was independent of the entire family. Okay. Now go to Deuteronomy 17. And again, this is still Moses who's recording this. Deuteronomy 17. Verse 14 and 15. And I'll go ahead and read this from the New American Standard. When you enter the land which Yahuwah your Elohim gives you, and you possess it and live in it, and you say, I will set a king over me, like all the nations who are around me. For some reason, Moses is receiving something to present to the children of Israel. When you get into this land, you're going to want a king because all the other people that live in the land have a king. Verse 15. You shall surely set a king over you, whom Yahuwah your Elohim chooses from among your countrymen or brethren, You shall set a king over yourselves. You may not put a foreigner over yourselves who is not your countrymen or brethren. All right, so Moses already sets the word in motion right here, telling them, you're going to want a king when you go in. And so let's go to Deuteronomy 28. I'm going to be down to verse 36 and 37. All right, so if somebody would read that for me, please, nice and loud.
36 and 37.
Correct.
Yahweh will bring you and your king whom you have put over yourselves to a nation you have not known, neither you nor your ancestors, and there you will serve other gods made of wood and stone. You will be so devastated as to become a proverb and a laughingstock among all the peoples to which Yahweh will drive you.
All right. So what we're going to see has actually taken place. Moses was telling them, this is what's going to happen. You're going to do this. You're going to go off and worship other idols. Idols you did not know. Idols, and I'm not going to go through all the scriptures. There's quite a few. There's quite a bit. Idols that your forefathers, your fathers, didn't even worship. You're going to worship in a way your fathers didn't even worship when they worshiped idols. So to me, it sounds like, oh, that's a little worse than what it was originally. Okay, you getting the picture? All right, here we go. What I want you to do is go to 1 Samuel. First Samuel, chapter 8. This is one, John, that I mentioned to you that I wanted you to hear. To answer your question or bring the comment you made, when you, on Sunday, I think, or Monday. Okay, chapter 8, 1 Samuel. Go down to verse 4. And Samuel's the prophet. He's the judge, basically, over the whole family, all the sons of Israel. And so verse 3. His sons, however, did not walk in his ways, however, turned aside after dishonest gain, and took bribes and perverted justice. Then all the elders of Israel gathered together and came to Samuel at Ramah. Now, does anybody know where Ramah is? It's way in the north country. He's way up north, in the territory of Gad. I think that's what it is. Huh? Okay. Verse 5. Then they said to him, behold, you have grown old, your sons do not walk in your ways. Now appoint a king for us to judge us like all the nations. All right, so now the word that Moses told them is now coming to pass. All right? Some 300 and some odd, almost 400 years later. Just to give you a time frame. Verse 6. However, the thing was displeasing in the sight of Samuel, when they said, give us a king to judge us. And Samuel prayed to Yahuwah. And here's what he said. Here's what Yahuwah said. And Yahuwah said to Samuel, listen to the voice of the people in regard to all that they say to you. For they have not rejected you, however, they have rejected me from being king over them. I want that one to really sink in. So I'll read it again. Yahuwah said to Samuel, listen to the voice of the people in regard to all that they say to you, for they have not rejected you, however, they have rejected me from being king over them. Now, what do you think that set into motion? So, most of you know the story. So, Saul, Saul is chosen. He's a Benjamite. That may not mean much to anybody here, but that's important. He was a Benjamite. And so he is set up over not all the people. He was not set up over all the children of Israel. He was only set up as king over the north. The point I'm trying to make is the kingdom was already divided. The people were already divided into two parts. And I believe it started way back in Genesis 38, when Judah separated from his family. That was the seed, in my mind, that was the seed that started everything. And now, some 400 years later, now it comes into play. Because shortly after Saul he is anointed by, Yahuwah had him anointed. Saul was an anointed king. But shortly after that, and you can read the story, you can go on further in 1 Samuel, and you will see where David is being selected to become a king.
When?
I think it was about 7 years later or something like that, in a time frame. Because Saul was not a good king. However, Yahuwah wanted to set up a king for himself. He wanted to choose a king. The people chose Saul. He wanted to choose a king. So if you know the story about how David came about, he was out in the field. 6 of his brothers were already, sort of paraded before Samuel. Said, nope, he's not the one. Nope, he's not the one. Nope, he's not the one. And David's father goes, well, that's it. No, you have another son. Yeah, but he's a scrawny little thing, in my words, out in the field watching the flocks and stuff like that. Go get him. David's brought in. Yahuwah goes, you're it. You are chosen. So now what happens? Now what's in place now? You have 2 kings ruling in this family. You have a king from Judah, and you have a king from the northern tribes. And most of you, I think, know the story, the conflict, the struggles that went on between them. And as time goes on, Saul and his son, they're killed off in battle, and then David takes over reign of even the northern kingdom. But that didn't stop the struggle. If you want more information on that, read Kings. Read 1 Kings. Read Chronicles. And you will see that the struggle did not end when David took over. And especially when Solomon took over, the struggle got really heightened.
That's because Solomon made them like slaves, didn't he?
Right. He made, and we see that in Chronicles. He turned the northern kingdom, he turned the northern people into slaves.
Solomon did.
Solomon did. And then his son Rehoboam was even harder. All right.
Solomon turned the northern tribes to slaves?
Yes.
Yeah.
Is that what you said? Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry.
He took them, he put them in bondage. If you remember the commandment, thou shalt not steal, he stole the lives of those people. He put them into bondage. Solomon, yeah,
And
Solomon
his
did.
son
Yeah,
continued.
his son was even harsher.
Worse,
Yeah.
worse, harder.
I've got chapter 12, verse 12, let me see what that is. Okay. So now what I want to do to just sort of reinforce the division of the family, now I want you to go back to Joshua. Okay, Joshua chapter 18. All I'm really pointing out here is the division that was already in place.
Joshua
18.
Okay, gonna be, I'll tell you, I wanna start in verse 1. Chapter 18 of Joshua. Then the whole congregation of the sons of Israel assembled themselves in Shiloh and set up the tent of meeting, the tabernacle, and the land was subdued before them. And there remained among the sons of Israel 7 tribes who had not divided their inheritance. So Joshua said to the sons of Israel, how long will you put off entering to take possession of the land which Yahuwah your Elohim of your fathers has given you? All right? So he's speaking, when he says to the sons of Israel, he's speaking to all the tribes here. Verse 4, provide for yourselves 3 men from each tribe, that I may send them, that they may arise and walk through the land, write a description of it according to their inheritance, and they shall return to me. Here's the cap of this whole thing, right here, verse 5. They shall divide the land, they shall divide it into 7 portions. Now, if anybody reads differently than what I'm going to read right now, I want you to speak up nice and loud. Judah shall stay in its territory to the south, and the house of Joseph shall stay in their territory on the north. When I came across this, it was, wait a minute. I thought it was a long time they were in the land, they were united, and then they were divided. Division has always been there. That's my point. Division has always been there. The division is still in place today. That's the main part of what this teaching is about. All right. Now let's go to 2 Samuel chapter 24. I'm skipping over a couple of verses because I think I made my point. 2 Samuel chapter 24. I went too far. I didn't go far enough.
Sorry, 2 Samuel 24.
I'm close. All right, here we go. Yeah, chapter 24, verse 1. This is just to reinforce what I just talked about. Verse 1, chapter 24 of 2 Samuel. Now again, the anger of Yahuwah burned against Israel, and it incited David against them to say, go number Judah and Israel. Go number Israel and Judah. Put it either way.
Mine says go and take a census.
Go and take a census, yeah. That's what numbering is. Now, it's when you understand the division has always been there, where I'm going to be going should make a little bit more sense to you. And then I'll tie it into where we're at today. Any questions so far? Anyone have a question?
I
Huh?
have a ton.
Well, give me one of them then, if you would, please.
Huh?
Give me one
No, it's
question.
just, it's moving like real, pretty fast for me,
Yeah.
but I'm new, so it's okay.
Well, so.
I have a lot of reading to do.
Right. And this is part of what, I want to do. This is part of what John, when he talks, is to get you to think and to research and search yourself. I'm just giving you base scriptures.
Okay, are you gonna end up eventually to where God is gonna join the two together again?
Yes.
Okay.
That's my
For
goal.
someone new, with an opening statement that this is the end goal, maybe, to show where the division began, walk them through the various parts of scripture that continue to
I
point that
appreciate
out,
that.
and coming to the
Yeah.
promise of the land. So all the questions that he has and all the reading that he needs to do, because this is a lot of verses, and books, especially for somebody new or anybody, that, when he finally gets to the point,
Right.
oh,
That's the end goal. Thank you, Jeff, for bringing that out. It's bringing this family together as
the
one.
two houses.
The two
Right.
houses, yeah.
Cool.
All right. Now I want you to go to 1 Kings, chapter 11. First Kings, chapter 11, and if I could have somebody read verses 9 through 13, please.
So Yahweh grew angry with Shlomo, or Solomon, because his heart had turned away from Yahweh the Elohim of Israel, who had appeared to him twice, and given him orders concerning this matter, that he should not follow other gods, but he didn't obey Yahweh's orders. So Yahweh said to Solomon, since this is what has been in your mind, and you haven't kept my covenant and my regulations, which I ordered you to obey, I will tear the kingdom from you and give it to your servant. However, for David your father's sake, I won't do it while you are alive, but I will tear it away from your son. Even then I won't tear away all the kingdom. I will give one tribe to your son for the sake of David my servant, and for the sake of Jerusalem, which I have chosen.
Okay. Now, that's what these two banners are up here about. You have one Israel, you have one Yehuda. And I know some of you have been wondering about that. When I had these made, the lady that made them for me, when she first made it, because she took that tallit and tore it into 10 pieces. Because we'll read that here later on. She cut it up into, actually she cut it up into 12 pieces. And she sewed 10 of them back together. And she did a beautiful, beautiful job, perfect. She brought it to me, she showed it to me. I said, no, that shouldn't look right. So she said, okay, so she tore it all apart and redid it, brought it back to me. Said it's still too perfect. Make it imperfect. And she did, and that's what she brought up. Because the children of Israel, especially the northern kingdom, they're imperfect. They are not perfect. Some are smaller, some are bigger. And that's what I wanted. I wanted to show a good perspective when I did this teaching of the northern kingdom, the kingdom of Israel. And then Judah, she got that first time, basically. All right, so now let's go on. I'm gonna read verse 31, and then we'll move on. And this is what I just talked about. Verse 31, same chapter. And he said to Jeroboam, now Jeroboam If you're not familiar with it, Jeroboam was a servant to Solomon. And then when issues came up between them, Jeroboam fled. And then when this time frame came up, Jeroboam came back to be the established king again over the northern tribes. All right. So he said to Jeroboam, take for yourself 10 pieces, for thus says Yahuwah, your Elohim of Israel, behold, I will tear the kingdom out of the hand of Solomon and give you 10 tribes. Now, the verse 32 is not found in some of the scriptures, but I'm going to read it anyhow. However, he will have one tribe for the sake of my servant David, and for the sake of Jerusalem, we already read that, for the city which I have chosen from all the tribes of Israel. Because they have forsaken me and have worshipped Ashtaroth, the goddess of Sidonians, Chemosh, the god of Moab, Milcom, the god of the sons of Ammon, and they have not walked in my ways, doing what is right in my sight, observing my statutes, my ordinances, as his father David did. So they were all ready, they had been, but this just makes it clear that the children of Israel were engulfed in idolatry. That was one of the things, if you remember back in 1 Samuel, they were seeking Yahuwah, give us a king. They talked to Samuel, give us a king. Because the other nations that live among us have kings. But the other nations also had idols. And that's where the children of Israel, it's just, as I've studied this and researched this, children of Israel have never totally moved away from chasing after idols. But that will change. That will change. All right, now we're going to move into the bringing back together, the gathering together. So before that, I need to set this up. In 730 BC, Israel, the northern kingdom, was taken out by Assyria, starting at Samaria. All right. The father, he raised up Assyria. They weren't in power very long. He just raised Assyria up, I believe, for the simple purpose of taking the northern kingdom out. And they were pretty well, most of them were taken out and redistributed within other places, especially to the north. But I also believe that many of the people, because they were being warned, the people were being warned by Isaiah, as well as Jeremiah, that this is going to happen to you. Repent, turn, otherwise you're going to be taken off into captivity. The very thing that Moses talked about, that if they did not follow his commandments and his teachings, they were going to be taken off into captivity. They were going to be spread around the world. Moses already laid that out. Well, this is when, at this particular time, about, like I said, 730 BC, that's when Israel was taken out. But, as I started to say, some of those, I believe, saw the handwriting on the wall. And they assimilated themselves into the tribe of Judah.
730 BC was when the north was taken out?
Yes, that's when it started.
Assyria, by the king of Assyria?
Yeah.
Well, not just one time, it was taken out twice, right?
Well, it was several times.
Phases.
Yeah, in phases. That's a good way of putting it.
And the tribe who attached to Judah was Benjamin and Levi, right?
Well, that's what was given to Judah, was Benjamin.
What about Levi?
Well, Levi was mixed in all of them. They were mixed in the north as well as the south. So, but what I want you to grab onto is some of the children of Israel, some of the house of Israel, the kingdom of Israel, some of those people went south, assimilated into Judah, and there they remained and they flourished. John?
Probably not leaders either at that time, right? Just lay people that were listening to, what Yah was saying, and picking up what was gonna happen and knowing it was
Right.
coming. And they went down
Yeah.
there,
Isaiah was a prophet at that time. Just to give you a time frame, Isaiah was a major prophet at that time. He was warning. If you read through Isaiah, this is what he's doing.
yeah. Mm-hmm.
He's warning the people.
Repent.
And he's warning the north more than he's warning the south. Isaiah had a clue what was going on
Mhm.
and what was gonna happen. Okay. Then about 586, around that time, Judah was taken to Babylon. And they were taken in stages also. But the first exit was in about 586 BC. Now, what most people don't realize is they were not totally taken out of their territory,
They who,
Judah.
okay.
Whereas the northern were totally taken out. Pretty much they were taken out. The only ones that were left, or that stayed, or came back, they fled and then they came back, were the people we call today Samaritans. Those are the people we call Samaritans.
Well, I'd say Ephraim was the head of Samaria, right?
Well, Ephraim was the king, the kingly line of the northern kingdom.
Samaria, yeah? No?
Yeah, and Samaria is part of it. It's not all of it, but it's part of it. For those of you that don't know where Samaria is, it's on Mount Gerizim, the Mount of Blessing. And from research and study and conversations with other scholars, just about 15% of Judah was taken out.
Judah was taken out where? In
To Babylon.
586?
To Babylon, yeah, 586.
Also in 583?
Huh?
Also in 583?
They were taken out by stages.
15% taken to where?
To Babylon.
Babylon.
Babylon is still in place today. Does anybody know what Babylon is called today?
New York.
New York? No.
Baghdad.
Yes. It's Iraq.
Hmm.
Do you know where Abraham came from?
Syria.
Huh?
Syria. He was
Iraq.
He was Assyrian, wasn't he? No?
Well, Assyria was up in that territory before Babylon.
Abraham, you
Took 'em
said?
Abraham
Yes.
came from that area,
Iraq
just
area,
north
I
of
would say.
Babylon.
Okay.
Which is, again, this is a family issue, people. This is about a family that struggles to have a relationship with one another. Anything sound familiar there?
My house. No,
It's a
sorry.
dysfunctional family.
My house.
All right.
I can't see.
Now, Jeremiah was
Right.
also a contemporary, meaning he was around at the same time, at the latter part of Isaiah's ministry, but he also gave a message. So I want to go to Jeremiah. I just want to just sort of set the stage. Jeremiah chapter 3. And I'm not gonna, I'm gonna pass over, I'm gonna state this, and then we're gonna leave it there, because there's a lot here in Jeremiah that deals with the dysfunctional family. Now I wanna be down in verse 11. Because we were talking a little bit about this word that is gonna come up in that 11th verse this morning. All right, I'll take a little sip and let everybody catch up. All right, verse 11,
3:11.
chapter 3. And Yahuwah said to me, faithless Israel, he's speaking to Jeremiah here. Faithless Israel has proved herself more righteous than treacherous Judah. Let me read that again. Yahuwah said to me, faithless Israel has proved yourself more righteous than treacherous Judah. Go and proclaim these words towards the north and say, return, faithless Israel. I will not look upon you in anger, for I am gracious, declares Yahuwah. I will not be angry forever. Only acknowledge your iniquity, that you have transgressed against Yahuwah your Elohim, and have scattered your favors to the strangers under every green tree. Simply put, that means you've gone after foreign idols. You've placed your faith into foreign idols.
But to break, like.
You've committed, basically, adultery with foreign idols. And you have not obeyed my voice, declares Yahuwah. Return, O faithful sons, declares Yahuwah, for I am a master to you. I will take you, one from a city, two from a family, and I will bring you to Zion. This is Yahuwah, through his word, speaking to Jeremiah. This is what I'm going to do. Friends, this is not the only place that almost these same words are used. And when I started studying this out years ago, you know, it's like when Jeremiah speaks, Isaiah uses a little bit different words. You kind of have to look at the wording as far as when he's talking to the children of Israel. But Jeremiah, as well as Ezekiel, now Ezekiel is one that went into Babylon. Just like Jeremiah from the beginning makes a distinction between Judah and Israel. Judah and Israel. He makes that distinction in all his writings. Why is that important to understand?
Because there's a distinction.
Exactly, it's to make the distinction that the division was still there, even though Israel was taken off to the north. And Yehudah remained. There was still this division. In Yahuwah's mind, there was this division. His family, his chosen family, has been split apart. And now, with the dispersion, they've really been split apart. And among the nations around them, they did become, as Amanda read earlier, like a proverb of stench in the world. And that's a whole nother thing also. All right, here we go. Let's go to Ezekiel 34. Here's what I wanted to get to tonight. Now, let me just remind you, Ezekiel was one that went into Babylon. And he's making the distinction right from the beginning of these two entities, Israel and Judah. Israel and Judah. Which to me is kind of fascinating. Why is he bringing Israel into it and not just talking about Judah? Well, it's for our benefit. I firmly believe that so the Father that we will know what the Father is saying and what he desires to take place as this restoration happens. All right, verse 11. For thus says Yahuwah your Elohim, behold, I myself will search for my sheep and seek them out. Huh. How many of you knew that verse was there? Yeah, I know some of you did. I myself, he says, will search out for my sheep. Who did the word of Yahuwah come to?
The lost
The lost sheep of the house of Israel. Interesting, isn't it? Ezekiel is prophesying this some 500 years before Yeshua even shows up on the earth. Interesting. This is one of those prophecies that is fulfilled. And it's still, that right there, verse 11 is still being fulfilled this day. And it's going to continue on until it comes to its completeness. Verse 12, we'll recognize this one too. As a shepherd cares for his herd in the day, when he is among his scattered sheep, so I will care for my sheep and will deliver them from all the places to which they were scattered on a cloudy and gloomy day. Remember, Moses talked about you're going to be scattered. You're going to be scattered around the world. You're going to be scattered to the four corners of the earth. You're going to be scattered. Wow. That was like 1,500 years prior to this. You're going to be scattered. Well, not that long, about 1,000. Verse 13. And I will bring them out from the peoples and gather them from the countries and bring them to their own land. I will feed them on the mountains of Israel, by the streams, and in all the inhabited places of the land. All right. Before I go on, I've got a couple more verses. Before I go on. Our Jewish brethren believe that this has been fulfilled. They believe that Yahuwah has brought them back, and they are the remnant that he is starting with.
You're talking about 1946?
Yes, 47.
47.
They believe that this is what took place, the last 70 years. This is the fulfillment of that.
But that's only one tribe.
Well, it's one tribe, but remember I said they were mixed with all the tribes. And after well, right now, up to even now, after 2,000 years, 2,500 years, you can just imagine how, it's like how they're all interconnected. And some have left, others have come in and taken their places. But this is the only place that it talks about Yahuwah regathering and restoring those people whom he put out of the land many years before this. Okay? There is still an ingathering that has to take place. And I was talking about that this morning. The ingathering of the lost sheep of the house of Israel, to be identified. So the world knows who we are. Not, just not a footnote in history at the bottom of a page or in the back of the book. No, they're going to know who we are.
They're going to know who we are?
Yes, I firmly believe they will know who we are. Moses brings that out.
You talk about the future.
Yes, because it hasn't happened yet. Even though our Jewish brethren says it has not happened yet. And here's why, in my opinion. Because they went into the land in 47, made the state. And some of you know this, but for those of you who don't, they were not to be called Israel. That was within the last 10, 15 minutes when they had to make a decision what they're going to be called to tell the United Nations.
Who? Israel said they did this.
Country of Israel.
No, the country of Israel. Those who were forming this coalition in the land, because they were going to call themselves Judah. Because the land basically is Judea. When we look, we pick that up when we look at it in the gospel. So that's what they picked. They picked Judea, but some of the real strong influencers said, no, let's call it Israel. So in the last minute, that's what the name that they gave. And oh boy, has it brought confusion. It has brought confusion. Now, what I've just told you, it's documented, it's in the history books, you can find it, if you wanna look it up on the internet, it's there. And when that took place, the minds of all the other people that are not familiar with what we are studying tonight just globbed onto that and said, okay, they're Israel. And then when they start thinking that, you know, okay, all Jews are Israel. No. All Jews are not Israel. A small portion of the Jews are Israel. But see, the small portion of Jews that think they were Israel, that think they are Israel, they have again, because of their Jewish history and background, now grab onto that. And then they hold tight to that. Because they want to be a part of the chosen. I don't blame them, I really don't. But they want to be a part of the chosen. Who do you think gave the Jewish people that title, the chosen? The chosen ones.
The word of Yah.
Huh?
The word of Yah.
The chosen one.
Who?
Themselves, I guess.
No, it was the world.
Yeah.
It was actually Christianity that gave them that title, the chosen ones.
Chosen ones, the set apart ones, what?
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. That they were the chosen ones.
Okay, then in scripture, because it never refers to them as chosen ones in the Old Testament, right?
Correct.
Just in the New Testament?
It's a cultural thing that came out.
Yeah, yeah.
They, you know, and that's why, you know, and I have to bring this up.
It's kind of like an opinion, right?
It's an opinion, but it's an opinion that the whole world accepted.
Yeah.
Okay.
It comes out of culture, or
And it comes out of
cultural
culture.
understanding
Yeah.
of kind of an assigning a new meaning to a name,
And
to a
the-
word.
The most recent example I can give you is that show called The Chosen.
Who?
It's a show, it's a series
Oh, yeah, yeah.
called The Chosen. Great circulation. And who do they focus on?
The disciples.
The Jewish brethren. It's just reinforcing culturally, it's just reinforcing how they have been called the chosen, and it just continues on. How many of you believe you have been chosen? Absolutely. Now, see, when we start calling ourselves the chosen, we're gonna start the battle all over again with Judah.
Not chosen. I want
However,
chosen.
what? Go ahead, Martha.
Is there
Pick me, pick me.
some like segment of Judaism that wants to make something about the 7 Noahide laws?
Yeah, that's the
Take
hierarchy
that, yeah,
in the Sanhedrin.
today,
Yeah,
yeah,
but that's been going on for 100 years.
okay.
They're the judges.
Hmm?
The Sanhedrin is the judge, are the
Yes.
judges.
They're the ones that rule over
Right.
the Jewish people, the Jewish kingdom.
Decide what is and is not.
Yeah.
So, like, okay, so concerning the 7 Noahide laws, they want like to make it, like a legislation, right?
Yeah,
That,
they've tried that and
that nobody but they can be called
the chosen.
the chosen or Jewish? Is
Yeah.
the chosen
Yeah.
specifically?
Because see,
or-
the Noahide laws, since you brought up, the Noahide laws are for all of those outside of Judaism.
Oh. That was the other
And
one.
that is what, in their discussion, those Noahide laws, if we follow them, then we become, in their minds, righteous. In the Sanhedrin's mind, we become righteous.
I thought,
Is it true, oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
okay, never mind, go ahead.
Is it true that in the Noahide law, you cannot use the name
Yes,
of the father?
yes,
Is that true?
Yeah,
No, that's what I heard.
so when we use the name, what do you think they're doing?
No, that's about.
It's just grating up against their very being.
So the conflict continues.
Because I say
Yeah.
Hashem.
That's why
I
Hashem
say
is there, yes,
Hashem.
yeah.
The name.
Okay, did I read everything I wanted to? Yes. So, in that passage, he's talking about, I will look for my sheep. I will look for my sheep. I will bring them back to the land. I will set them there. And I believe I believe now that there's already a remnant of the house of Israel back in the land. Some do recognize that, but most of them do not. And guess where they're being planted, where they're establishing themselves?
In the north,
Gaza,
maybe?
West Bank,
The hills of Israel.
the hills,
It's amazing the amount of people that I've run across or been involved with. They're going to the northern hills, which is the hills of Israel. And you will read that in the scriptures.
So, okay, since you brought up about the name and what it should be, shouldn't be, what should it have been,
As far as what?
the name? Instead of Israel, because they wanted to call it Judah or Judea, but they called it
It
Israel.
was Judah. It was supposed to be Judah.
Is that what, is,
Yes,
okay.
yeah, research it.
No, no,
And
I'm
if
asking.
I want you to research it. If I'm wrong, I want to be corrected again,
Okay, no,
So,
I'm not, honest.
it's been 20 years since I've researched this. So things may have changed, I don't know.
Yeah. When, okay, by name.
And that was actually, what I told you was actually within the Jewish writings.
Okay, so there were three places that after World War II where they wanted to go, right? Uganda, right? And Ethiopia, and where they are now.
Right, and some of them did go to those other places,
Did they?
yeah.
Okay.
If you
Why
remember-
did they choose, were they just looking for any place that would accept
So
them?
that
Or-
they would have peace within themselves,
Right.
that they would not be bothered,
Yeah, cause nobody wanted
that they would
them.
not be pushed out.
Yeah, well, they picked the wrong place for that.
Well, but still, I wasn't around at that time when all that happened, but,
Yeah.
okay. All right, couple of chapters over, 37, here we go. This is the culmination, Mike, right here, of this lesson. It's chapter 37. And I'm gonna be in verse 15. Well, actually, I'm gonna have, Valerie, would you mind reading out of yours? And read 15, let's go ahead and read the whole thing. Read verse 15, through 22, please.
Where are we reading, I'm sorry?
Okay, Ezekiel,
Oh, okay.
chapter 37,
15 through 22.
15 through 23. 15 through 22, yes.
And the word of Yahweh came to me, saying, And you, son of man, take a stick for yourself and write on it, for Yehuda and the children of Israel, his companions, and take another stick and write on it for Joseph, the stick of Ephraim, and for all the house of Israel, his companions. Then bring them together for yourself into one stick, and they shall become one in your hand. And when the children of your people speak to you, saying, Won't you show us what you mean by these? Say to them, Thus says the Master Yahweh, See, I am taking the stick of Joseph, which is in the hand of Ephraim, and the tribes of Israel his companions, and I shall give them unto him with the stick of Yehuda, and make them one stick, and they shall become one in my hand. And the sticks on which you write shall be in your hand before their eyes. And speak to them, thus said the Master Yahweh. See, I am taking the children of Israel from among the Gentiles, wherever they have gone, and shall gather them from all around, and I shall bring them into their land. And I shall make them one nation in the land on the mountains of Israel, and one sovereign shall be sovereign over them all. And let them no longer be two nations, let them no longer be divided into two reigns.
Okay. This is the two-stick teaching, right here. This has not been fulfilled. So let's go, I got 2 sticks. Some of the best sticks I've ever used, to be honest with you. I've used butter knives, I've used all sorts of different things to do that. Okay, so what am I supposed to take? I'm gonna take 1 stick, and what am I supposed to do with it?
Right on.
Well, what am I gonna write?
Judah,
Okay, write Judah. Okay, I'm gonna put Judah right here. Okay. Anything else?
and the other one right Ephraim.
And his companions, for the children of Israel.
All right. Okay, on Judah, we need something else.
It says for,
For
Judah
take
and,
1 stick and write on it for you, for Judah and those joined with him.
and those joined with him, meaning, in the way my translation is, those that are from Israel,
children of
those that are
Israel.
from the northern. You remember I already
The
talked
people
about
of
that.
Israel.
There were some that came down and joined themselves, assimilated themselves into Judah. Okay, so I'm gonna put sons of Israel, which then actually refers to all the tribes.
10 tribes.
Okay, so on the other stick, what am I supposed to write?
Ephraim.
No,
For
No.
Joseph.
Ephraim.
huh?
Ephraim.
No,
It said, take another stick and write on it for Joseph, the stick of Ephraim, and
Okay,
all the
yeah.
house of Israel.
I
Who
was
are
looking for
joined
the,
with
I was
him.
looking for the name Joseph, 'cause I'm gonna put both Joseph and Ephraim on here,
On 1 stick?
on this stick right here, yeah.
So Joseph.
I'm done with the Judah stick.
So this one, okay, I don't know.
Huh?
So it's Joseph and Ephraim is the Israel?
Mm-hmm. And that, if we look through the progression of this, all right, and who else, what else am I supposed to write on here?
And all the house of Israel who are joined with him.
Okay, that's very specific,
Ben.
and all the house of Israel. You notice there's nothing in here about Judah?
Yes. Because Judah knows who they are.
So the other stick's the
'Cause
children,
Judah's got- yeah.
children of Israel, not
Yeah.
house of Israel.
Yeah.
The children of Israel that have gone to Judah are the ones that I said, they assimilated themselves into it. Okay, so I have 1 stick here, for Judah and the sons of Israel, and another stick here for Joseph and Ephraim and the house of Israel. So this is very specific. All right, so what am I supposed to do now? I'm Jeremiah, I know that, or Ezekiel, and I know that, but,
Put it together.
okay, so I'm to put them together. Well, wait a minute, no, before that, they have to be in different hands, right? It says in verse 17, join them for yourself, one to another, that they may become one in your hand. But in the upper part, it's, you write on it, and you put 1 stick in one hand, and another stick in the other hand. Let me turn that around, so the camera can see it. Probably can't read it, but they can see it. This is Judah. This is Joseph and Ephraim. Now, you're right. Now, bring them together, so that they will be what?
One.
One in your hand. Okay, so here you go. They're one in my hand. Oh. I'm gonna have to break in here for just a minute.
Are there one in Ezekiel's hand or are there one in the father's hand?
Wait a minute, don't get ahead of yourself. Actually, I've gotta do something. excuse me, I gotta plug this in. I forgot to do that. Talk among yourselves. All right. I think it's still recording, I don't know.
Well, it's not plugged into anything else,
Yeah, it's,
Just hanging.
Yes,
just
it
hanging there
is.
in the air. No, it's
No,
not.
it's
Oh.
It's plugged in.
okay. All right, so as we go through this, but verse 18 is very clear. So when the sons of your people speak to you saying, will you not declare to us what you mean by these? Well, now it's being declared to you, okay? And so, now, verse 19. Thus says Yahuwah your Elohim, behold, I will take the stick of Joseph, okay, that's this one, and I will put it in the hand of, which is in the hand of Ephraim. Now, I forgot to get my gloves. This is the hand of Ephraim here, okay, which is in the hand of Ephraim. And the tribes of Israel, okay, his companions, and I will put them with the stick of Yehuda, and make them one stick, and they will be one in my hand. All right, so we have Yehuda here. So how do we do this? We bring our hands together.
No, we put them in the.
Put them in the same.
All right, put them in the hand. Now, this is Ephraim's hand. This is Joseph's hand. Which hand is this?
Judah.
Huh?
Yours.
Yeah, Yehuda's hand. This is what I want you to get the picture of. You take this stick out of here, whose hand is Yehuda in?
The father.
The Father's hand. Yehuda's hand. Now, what does that mean? You got anything, John?
Well, I think if you fast forward several hundred years, it'll mean something about, the prodigal son being in a pig trough, slopping hogs, and then coming to his senses and going back to his father.
Mm-hmm.
Repenting of the things that he and his father had done, just like, we read back in Jeremiah 3. And he's joining them together as he promised, even further back.
And so when they come together, what are they gonna be doing?
There'll be one nation.
They'll be one nation, but where will they be one nation?
In the
In
kingdom.
the kingdom.
But are they one nation before they go into the kingdom?
No, they'll be one nation when they go into the kingdom.
Okay.
It's the only-
Right now, this is the way they are. They're separated. They're still separated. There's still gonna be this conflict taking place. You have not seen anything yet, in my opinion.
Yeah, because chronologically, after he joins them together, then 38 and 39 take place of Ezekiel, right?
Yeah,
So
They
they
do.
really are upset.
yes. And the conflict I've run into, some of you have run into the same conflict I've had with dealing with our Jewish brethren. But they will become one. But the main thing I want you to know is Yehuda is in Yahuwah's hand. Judah is in Yahuwah's hand. Joseph and Ephraim are still out here. Now, why do they use Ephraim's hand? Does anybody remember? I talked about this a long time ago. It's a little pop quiz. Why Ephraim's hand? Anybody want to take a stab?
He's the head of the northern tribes.
He's not only the head of the northern tribes,
He's the head of all the tribes.
he's the head of all the tribes.
Who is head of all the tribes?
Ephraim,
Okay.
the tribe of Ephraim.
Because
the
Jacob-
cross-handed blessing gave him
There you go.
the right of the firstborn.
Yeah. He's the only one, when you go back to that chapter 48, he's the only one. Some people believe that Manasseh was included with that Israel put his name upon the two boys. He didn't put his name, Israel didn't put his name on any of the other sons. Wait a minute, you gotta be kidding. Then why are they called the sons of Israel? Well, because they're the sons of Israel. Israel changed his name. But in the account, he only put his name, in my opinion, on Ephraim. And since Ephraim is the head of the northern kingdom, that's why they're called Israel, in my opinion. And it's just like we had a,
The younger son of Joseph.
yes,
Ephraim.
because when you go back and you look at that in Genesis, Jacob did the blessing,
I know, we put the right hand on Ephraim.
yeah, the right hand of blessing. However, Joseph also had his right hand.
So he got a double blessing.
He got a double blessing.
Yeah, he got a double portion because he was the firstborn of Rachel.
Right. And in the context, it says, he says he put the name of Abraham and Isaac, his father, on those boys, but he also put Israel on Ephraim's head. And Ephraim became the number one tribe in the house, in the family. He became the leadership tribe for the northern kingdom. That's why you see a lot coming out of Ephraim. And when they get reestablished, they're gonna go back to Ephraim's territory. The tabernacle was set up in Ephraim's territory. That's where Yahuwah put his name first when they went in.
They, the northern kingdom,
Mhm.
they gonna go to Ephraim's,
They're already doing it. That's what I was explaining earlier. People that are going over there now, that are not Jewish, but they're going over to help their Jewish brethren to establish themselves, most of them are going to the northern hills.
right,
They're north of Jerusalem.
yeah, like Samaria.
Yeah.
Samaria's north.
And even north, up in the Golan Heights, way north.
Stop.
Take me with you.
Huh?
I said Golan Heights, that's where I'm gonna
I said, take me with you. Don't take Katie though.
Now I'm gonna have to edit that out of mine. Any questions? And I know you've got a lot of questions that I do know. But when we understand this laid out, and I believe that's why I came up with this, because it's a visual.
Cause it was like a symbolic thing. and
Yes.
So it still has yet to be, to actual,
Correct.
yes, so that made sense to me.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, it still has yet to happen, but it will happen. How do I know that? It's right here, it's right here, and I know it's gonna happen.
This picture back here is a visual too.
Yeah. So. There's a lot more to this, and I want you to study it out for your own. And if you have questions, I'm always available, yeah.
The ingathering of Israel is happening after the affair with the dry bones, right?
Yes,
After the dry bones is being,
that's why in chapter 37,
yeah.
we have the establishment of the house of Israel. That's what the dry bones are about.
Now, in my mind, I'm seeing when he brings the house of Israel together, a similar action would have been back in Egypt when he separated his people from the Egyptians, like through the darkness and the light, for
Right.
example. It's gonna be that magnified, that these are my people and my mark is on them.
Exactly.
And
And
what is the mark?
even,
Sabbath.
the mark of the Sabbath, the sign is the Sabbath. It's just like what, was brought up as we were sitting out there, on the porch. There's many people that are not going to want to come into this. And they're gonna keep doing their own ways. That's fine. I can take you to a piece of scripture in Revelation where it says, let those who are wicked remain wicked, and those who are righteous remain righteous. Now, I changed some meaning of the words, but that's basically what it says. that came from Yahuwah. That didn't come from me.
Yeah, the subject, this teaching, that John and I were at a
You
congregation.
talk about Revelation, right?
many
Hold
years
on.
ago- Many years ago, we were trying to get Rico Cortez, everybody familiar with him?
Yeah,
To do a teaching at that congregation. First they said yes, and then they said no, and did finally find a place for him, there were maybe 100 people. I don't know, I think Danny was there too, but they asked us to leave because, you know,
see, you've experienced the controversy.
oh,
And because of this teaching, I've been, asked not to come back and speak to, right now, 3 congregations. That's okay. I mean, I knew it was gonna happen, and it will continue to happen. Because the controversy between Yehuda and Israel is still active and strong.
And what reason did they do it?
Because they didn't, just same way here, they didn't believe, they thought it was heresy.
They just don't wanna hear it.
Yeah.
Well, they listened,
You're wrong, and we
But-
don't hear it.
but again, if you had, you know, like I said, Judah believes, the Jewish brethren believe that what I brought up earlier, that's already taken place. These 2 sticks have already taken place in their mind.
Mm-mm.
How about what we read earlier also?
Yeah.
He will take the blinders off of their eyes so they can see.
Right.
Yes.
But before he takes the blinders off of their eyes, he has to raise up this other family.
Right.
These lost sheep that Yeshua came for.
And then the prodigal son, the older brother still has a chip on his shoulder when the younger brother comes back. And
Right.
the father accepts him.
Yeah.
Even then, the older brother still had a chip on his shoulder. about
Yeah.
both of them.
But what caused the chip on his shoulder?
Because he'd been there the whole time.
He'd been there the whole time.
Yeah.
But who was his issue with?
The father.
Yeah, his father.
Oh, yeah, okay, yeah, you're right.
It wasn't with the brother,
You're right.
it was with the father. Because the father allowed him to come back. But see, that will all be, and see, just in the wording, just in that, he says, you know, he's my son. You know, he has a place here. You're gonna have to accept him. And that's what's gonna have to take place. All right, anything else?